Arjuna is requesting the Lord to give a list of his manifestations, where all, O Lord, do you pervade? As he says, O Janardhana, Jana Ardhana, one who is a well-wisher of Jana. So the Arjuna is addressing the Lord as you're a well-wisher of everybody. Janardhana, tell me in detail of your yoga and manifestation, for there is no satiety for me in hearing the nectarine. There is no satisfaction. You will never get tired. When I say no, when there is no satisfaction, what we must understand is there is no amount of pursuit of the higher will ever tire you. On the contrary, when you pursue anything with a selfish motive, anything that's pursued with a hidden agenda, it almost becomes a burden to deal with, because you're carrying a motive. You're carrying a hidden motive, and that hidden motive becomes a burden, and it becomes a boredom. Any selfish activity is tiresome. It saps your energy. It dissipates. So contrary to that is any action which has an unselfish motive relatively, or a selfless, which is no motive at all. When it's done for a higher purpose, we find such activities, there is no loss of energy. Then we referred to the verse last week. You have that verse again? What was the reference verse we gave last week? Anyone took a note? In this, there is no loss of energy.
Verse 40, chapter 2.
Can you put it, please? Verse 40, chapter 2. Correct. There he says, in this, there is no loss of energy. So when you perform, in this refers to Karma Yoga. When your actions are driven for a higher purpose, what we mean, a higher purpose is not what you do, for what you're doing. So whatever you do, like yesterday, Harsha, remember we had a conversation, and you were sharing with me yesterday that you got an opportunity to a program which was $400 worth. It came free to you. And what was my advice? I said, it becomes your bounden duty to carry on that flame of being a beneficiary. Let somebody else be a beneficiary of your act of charity. You don't have to sign a check and give. But what knowledge you have, what talent you have, what you can offer, may that become a means of somebody else be benefited by your talent. It becomes your bounden duty. I got something my way, let me be selfish and make use of it for myself. Nah, that is a burden, that's a boredom. That spoils that act. Somebody gave it with an act to do some good to you. You do that same act to do good to somebody else. Let that radiate to one and all. So in that, in Karma Yoga, that second verse, when Gayatri Ma gets hold of, we'll have an access to it. There is no loss of energy. It only means there is an enormous inspiration. You get motivated. You never get tired by doing work with the spirit. When you work with the spirit of yajna, you never get tired. You got to experience it. You got to taste it. So he says there is no satiation. I am not satisfied because it's always inspiring. Neha bhikramana you can see on your televisions. Neha bhikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayato mahato bhayat. In this, there is no loss of energy, nor is there production of contrary result. When you perform action, every action has a consequence or result. No contrary result means something. When you act, there is no unfavorable results. So losing energy is an unfavorable result. Not to lose energy, even very little. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayato mahato bhayat. Even very little of this knowledge protects one from great fear. Fear or insecurity is a direct measure of your own selfish attitude. What will happen to me? The very thought you have, what will happen to me, is nothing but an announcement, a silent announcement of your own selfishness. Oh, then I must keep things for myself, for my future, for my rainy days. That very thought is insecurity. And who is insecure? Only a selfish person is insecure. A man of wisdom will quietly decode it in his own language. But a true giver, a truly unselfish person, there is no insecurity. As you read there, even very little of this knowledge, you don't have to have profound wisdom. The moment you go into the outhouse of this knowledge, you don't have to go into the living room. Outhouse of this knowledge is good enough to take care of the bhaya or the insecurity or the incompleteness you feel. Yes, Edhiji? Harsha, pass the mic to him, please.
Guruji, this in wherever we see action in non-profit in camps and community activities and temples, and wherever there is, we can see this people with joy and working long hours and sparing time, and they never get tired. This is demonstrated in every wherever volunteering is there, without a motive, without a selfish motive. On the other hand, in the same premises, you will be having some staff members, employees. They will be serious because they are doing for their livelihood. Yeah. So this we can see any place, even in big temples, the temple staff will be serious. The volunteers will be very happy and joy.
You see, yeah, absolutely. No, the person who is approaching it with a free spirit, they have no hang-ups. Nothing burdens them. Very true. Very true. So, with all the keenness established, the Lord is going to enumerate in detail where all he pervades. I hope you will not get tired. Because Arjuna said, I am very keen to hear and I am not going to be tired listening to your long list of enumerations, because from 19th verse till the 38th verse, how many verses? Yes, sir? 19 or 20? Include 19. He's starting from 19, no? 19 to 38, 20 verses, you have to be patiently listening where all he pervades. As we said, even though the Lord pervades in such profundity, how is it we're missing it? And one of the reasons we gave is anything in abundance, we don't know the value of it. So the God is splashed in every aspect. Everything that's expression is nothing but expression of the Lord. But you miss it because of its abundance. So he highlights certain aspects. So when you come across them, perhaps they become a triggering factor. It becomes a reminder of the Lord. Okay, now the moment you get into it, you'll know what we're talking. 19, please. Shri Bhagavanuvacha Hantate Kathayishyami Devyam Hyatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyanta Kuru Shrestha Nasyanto Vistarasya Me Shri Bhagavanuvacha Hantate Kathayishyami Devyam Hyatma Vibhutayaha Pradhanyanta Kuru Shrestha Nasyanto Vistarasya Me. Shri Bhagavanuvacha, the blessed Lord said, in fact, the Lord has kept quiet for so many verses. Arjuna has been talking, and look at that man of profundity, he kept quiet. He let Arjuna speak. Compared to Krishna, Arjuna is Venkateshan sir. Imagine your 5-year-old grandson is giving a lecture to you. How I know பேசுறான். நீங்க சீரியஸா உட்கார்ந்துட்டு நீங்க listening, all you're lending your ears to him. எப்படி இருக்கும் sir? The third person looking at it, you are listening to your, let's say, 6-year-old grandson talking. Project management. How to manage projects and things, and he's giving lecture to you. A third person looking at you, lending your ears to your grandson. What tamasha is going on? It has happened. Huh? I knew it will happen. That's the reason I picked out you. Ama. A 5-year-old, not an 18-year-old, not 18-year-old, 19-year-old Gulliver. Gulliver, huh? So you find he said, well, since you are so keen to learn, I will declare to you my divine glories in brief, O best of Kurus. Look at the affinity both of them have for each other. Arjuna is praising the Lord, and the Lord is praising Arjuna. Man, you are the best of the Kuru clan. There is no end to my detailing. There is no end. So few psychological or subtle messages you get. As I said, even though Lord Krishna, with that profound wisdom, he was able to lend his ears. He was merely silently listening to what Arjuna was saying. Whether it made sense or no sense, doesn't matter. In fact, the Gita starts with Arjuna talking for over a chapter and 10 verses, right? So he was literally prattling about his stupid logicless statements he was making. So one of the messages we get is, in fact, this element is actually, it comes out as a question in the book. When you all read, you'll understand that. Where we say one of the most powerful means of correcting another person is to remain silent to their actions. If where there is a concern, if I am not concerned to another person, I'm obviously silent. How does it matter? But where there is a concern, where your actions matter to other person and you choose to remain silent, what would your silence do to another person? You choose to remain silent. So Krishna chose silent for all these verses. What would your silence do to the other person? Means you become a silent observer to their actions. What would happen? Pritima? Just hold on, please.
The person who is speaking will feel that the other person is a sympathetic listener. And
Where are you injecting sympathy there?
am I getting the whole thing wrong?
No, what was the question? I want to hear from you.
No, you have to tell me
No,
the
no,
question.
you are answering a question, no? I want to know
No,
what question you're answering.
what I understood the question as that the person who's talking away at length, what will that person feel about the listener? Is that what you say?
No. What I said is, if a person is prattling endlessly, and I choose to remain silent to his endless passing comments, I remain an objective witness. Another thing is I react to it. Another thing is I remain silent, which Arjuna kept talking. I said in the first chapter, he kept on prattling. Lord Krishna kept silent. And the outcome of it was very profound. If I say that, I'm answering myself. So the question is, when you remain, many things happen around you. So when you remain silent to others' actions, so in effect, Pritima is silent to Raviji's actions.
No, but that's not out of indifference. That's out of no, that's not out of indifference. That's not out of indifference. That's out of mature understanding that the other person needs to say or do what he or she needs to do at the moment. And when the right moment comes, I will interject.
Perfect. But till that interjection happens, you choose to remain silent.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. But the thing is, even by your expression, even your silence can speak volumes and convey the message that yes, thus far and no further. If you want to persist in your folly, you can, but the silence conveys the message that thus far, no further.
I need to digest that thus far, no further. A little over me, no?
Meaning that you're not going to let the other person just, keep falling. The silence will be wise enough, and the silence is, I don't know. I just explained everything. I can't repeat myself.
Fair enough. Sanjay.
Yes, Guruji. I was thinking, if the listener is silent, it forces the speaker to listen to themselves, to kind of process.
Sanjay, I don't know why everybody is laughing the moment you start talking. I don't know why. Everybody is laughing. I don't know why.
My wife does the same thing. I'm used to it.
Correct. So please talk in an accent that we understand, please.
Okay, Guruji. Actually, what happens is when the listener starts to remain silent, I feel like the speaker they have to start listening to themselves in real time. They start self-correcting, self-updating, because they're not getting a reaction. Don't know if that's out of context here or.
Ma, we need to invest on that speaker, ma. No, don't do anything. Get that speaker and send the bill to Sanjay. Okay, Sanjay? Better say okay.
Okay.
You have to foot that bill. Because
Okay.
I can't hear anything that you're saying.
Oh, sorry.
No, not sorry.
Oh.
No, I can and cannot. So there's 50-50. So I somewhat make sense what you say. And then 20% lost in the accent. No issues. I get what you're saying. See, what we are trying to get at is when one remains silent to another person's actions, it makes another person go inward and examine their actions. The best way to correct another person is to remain silent to their action, is just to remain an observer. But what happens is we can't hold back our anxiety to correct them. So we plunge, we throw emotions, we create tantrums, we unsettle them, we can't accept their shortcomings. To a large extent, if one practices this, it has a phenomenal effect. So to that extent, you must be unconcerned. To another person's imperfection. Okay, you're imperfect. What can I do about it? The only way change or transformation can happen until the other person realizes the needs to change, isn't it? I can't bring about a transformation in them. But the only way other person starts thinking is by me not violating the principle of education. The fundamental principle of education is knowledge is never taught, it's always sought. It's never taught. So don't go about freely giving your advice to others. It will boomerang on you and say, did I ask your advice? Every time your wife sits and tells you what to do, sir, what will you say? Hey, எனக்கு தெரியும்டி சும்மா சும்மா 10 வாட்டி அதே சொல்லி சொல்றீங்க சொல்லுவீங்களா இல்லையா? சாரிம்மா, நீங்க என்ன சொல்லுவீங்க? இன்னும் நான் அது சொல்ல மாட்டேன். நீங்க என்னடா எவ்வளவு வாட்டி சொல்லுவ நீ அது? அந்த மாதிரி silent. Amma will be very silent to that. It has its own direct consequences when you try to trust your views on others. When knowledge is given unsought, it boomerangs. But when knowledge is sought, when another person surrenders to you, and that is what Krishna's Lord Silence did to Arjuna. Arjuna understood the greatness of the Lord and understood his stupidity, his childishness, and he said, "Oh Lord, please help me resolve my predicament. I don't know, I'm lost, I'm confused." You see, so a similar effect the Lord has created by being silent in these few moments. Okay, yeah. Just before I explain, Ashama, yes, please.
Yes. So Guruji, what I heard just now, like remaining silent makes people go inwards. That was kind of an opener for me, because I personally felt that remaining silent is kind of interpreted as a sign of weakness, and maybe, the other person keeps on doing the same thing repeatedly or takes you for granted. So isn't it a sign of weakness to maybe not speaking up at that particular point of time, but eventually? This is with reference to interactions in day-to-day context.
Very true. No, there is a very thin line between indifference, which is tamas, and being detached, which is sattva. But when does it tantamount to indifference? When you become a victim of other person's actions. A person who is sattvic doesn't become a victim of the other person's actions. They may continue to perform an action in a particular manner. They may not bring about a change because they are not putting any effort. But you being silent doesn't mean you accept their actions and you allow you to be affected by it. Now, so you must ensure that you don't become a victim of their shortcomings. You get it? That's the difference between indifference and being silent, which is being detached.
So it means being silent, at the same time not being affected of what is happening around.
Oh yes. You must be silent physically and mentally also. Physically being silent and mentally in a turmoil has no meaning. So mentally I'm very frustrated, I'm gone to depression. Why? Guruji said be silent. I've been silent to their actions, I'm gone to depression. Mentally I'm gone agitated. That is not acceptable. You get it? I have seen that in many a time I've driven into Singapore because Malaysian with a Malaysian driving license can drive in Singapore. So with work at times, I know I had to do a lot of driving. I used to drive from Malaysia into Singapore. And many Singaporeans come to Malaysia. Even though from Kuala Lumpur, it's close to 400 odd kilometers, I used to drive quite frequently. The moment you go into Singapore, you will be constantly on your watch with your speedometer. You will not want to break any law. You would not want to break any rule. I remember once I had an experience. I drove through a nothing to declare lane. And I was actually going for lectures of Swamiji there, organizing. He was actually coming and I was going. So the whole car was full of books and CDs, along with other lecture arrangements. There were a couple of them with me and I was driving and we all went. And the moment they stopped, nothing to declare lane, for the next 3 hours, I had to open out, empty everything in the car. They sent a dog into the car, sniffed out every possible part to ensure that I was not carrying any drugs, because that's a very common thing that happens. And people there are so mindful. Your maximum speed in Singapore is 90. You cannot cross beyond 90 in the entire city. And if you go beyond 90, had it. So, and you will not see a single police on the streets. I can't recall seeing a police, but there is a bhaya. There is a fear, because you know you are being watched. There's somebody watching you. Instantly, I become mindful of my actions. Now, the same people who are disciplined to follow the rule, Singaporeans, every Sundays they come to Kuala Lumpur. You know for what? Anybody know? Yeah, that day I'll tell you further. But for what do they come, from all the way 400 kilometers? Go back. To have breakfast. They come just to have breakfast in KL and go back. And they have these flashy sports cars. Powerful cars they have. And Malaysia has got one of the best highways and roads in the world. One of the best highways. So they will come with enough money to pay the speed guns, to pay the fine, because they'll be caught. 110 is the minimum speed. And they drive at 180, 200, 220, they drive. And these Malaysian police are waiting to catch these Singaporean cars, because their number plate starts with S. They catch them, they pay the fine, and they drive. Because they have that powerful cars and they can't drive more than 90. Look at the frustration. I can't drive. So every Sunday they drive, a drive which should take 3 hours, or they'll finish in 1.5 hours. They'll come from Singapore. I've had breakfast with people who come for breakfast. So I know, I have heard from them. It's not me imagining. The law doesn't work as well as it works in Singapore. Even if it works, never mind, I'll break the law. But there, they will lose their license. They will never get they'll not, in fact, it is difficult to buy a car in Singapore. In fact, people throw party if they buy a car, because there's no space. So the permit to buy a car is 4 times the value of your car. If you want to get a permit to buy a car, that's 3-4 times the value of the car. I'm telling you, what the example I'm giving all of this is, when you know you are being observed, instantly you become mindful of your actions. When you know you're not being observed, the law relaxes. You're not being watched. I can afford to break. People instantly break the law. And moving on, the very verse starts with Hantaha. Hantaha means, he says, well. When you use the word well, what do you get from that? Alas. Oh, okay. The kind of reaction Krishna is giving. So what does it mean? The Lord is speaking with an element of sarcasm there. And what is a sarcasm? Man, you only want to know my manifestation? Arjuna is asking, Lord, where all do you manifest? Man, you only want to know my manifestation. You're not interested in Atma Vidya. You're not interested in the Brahma Vidya. You're not interested in the knowledge of the self. You only want to know where all I'm pervading the world. It's like a person comes to India to only go to all the pilgrimages. Yeah, India has got many temples where you can take many pilgrimages. But don't you want to learn the Brahma Vidya? Don't you want to know the Vedantic truths? It's like that. Arjuna asking Lord about his manifestations is like a man coming to India only want to go to temples, not want to know the Vedantic wisdom. Which is more profound, visiting a temple or unearthing the wisdom in the Vedas? Sorry? It can be a path, certainly, but I'm saying if the fact that what you choose tells where you are, more on that sense. He's not demeaning it, but there's an element of sarcasm. I'll give you what you want, but I wish you asked for the higher truth. If you compare that much to Kathopanishad, Nachiketa was offered whatever he wanted. And you know the famous reaction of Nachiketa, he said, Tavaiva vahastava nritya gite. Keep your damsels and horses with you. Means don't give me anything else but Brahma Vidya. What is the caliber of Nachiketa and caliber of Arjuna? This is the disparity we're only saying. We're not demeaning here. We're just saying a person who seeks that will seek that. But here he's only seeking, since he is seeking that, the Lord has no choice but to give, enumerate the manifestations. Remember, I said it is the student that sets the tone for the teacher. Since the tone has been set, he will start from the 20th verse. Ahamatma Gudakesha Sarvabhutashayasthitaha Ahamadischa Madhyam cha Bhutanamantayeva cha Ahamatma Gudakesha Sarvabhutashayasthitaha Ahamadischa Madhyam cha Bhutanamantayeva cha. He starts off, I am the self, O Gudakesha. Gudakesha means one who has conquered his sleep. Arjuna, I am the self seated in the heart of all beings. Sarva Bhutashaya Sthitaha. Ahamadischa Madhyam cha Bhutanam Antayeva cha. I am the beginning, I am the middle, I am the end. Adi Madhyam Antaha. End of all beings. So here he is following the Upanishadic style. The Upanishadic style is to cater to the higher caliber of students first. So even in the description, he first says, I am the self. Seated in the heart of all beings. What do you understand by heart, Harsha? Can you use the microphone, please? Just hold the button.
Yes, sir. I was saying that I don't want to give an obvious answer saying that it's an organ. Is it all right?
Sure. Tell gratitude with the red mic to reduce the.
One's heart is true self, I believe.
So no, I'm only trying to interpret the word. He says, I am the self seated in the heart of all beings. So when you say heart, in the
Okay.
context, what does it mean? Heart can also mean love.
Yeah.
Heart can also mean feelings.
Yeah.
So it has a many interpretation to it.
Yeah.
What do you understand? Pass other mic to Pranav. Harsha first. Pranav,
Yeah.
Pranav.
Center of our being.
Center of your being. Right. Perfect. Okay. Pranav.
Well, when I read that, I thought it meant that he's seated in every action that you do, because your heart is always pounding no matter what you're doing. In every action or every thought that you're thinking, he's there.
Sanjay, you follow?
Huh?
Your brother is here. Show the brother to them. Can you show the brother? Okay, switch off the mic. No, he wants to see you.
Who wants to?
Sanjay wants to see you.
Okay.
Can you talk to Sanjay? Sanjay, can you talk to him, please? No, they follow. They're neighbors only. No. They are friends, brothers and sisters. They all are. Say hi to him.
Hello.
See the thing. Raise your hand. He will not know who's talking. Sanjay, you can notice him. See, Namaskar is doing to you.
Yeah, I know him very well, actually.
All the way from UK.
Such a clear voice. Such a clear voice.
Clear voice, yeah.
Such a
Very
clear
clear.
voice.
Yeah. Mm. So the heart means the very core or the quintessence of your personality. And take that out, there's nothing empty. So when he says, I am the self, which is the seated in the heart of all beings, means it is the very essence. It's not in the sense the epicenter. It means it's the very quintessence. Like when you use the language heart in English language, you say, what is the heart of the problem? Means what is the real problem you're talking? What's your problem? Core, the very core of your personality. I'm in the heart of the city, means I'm in the very center of the city, in that sense. So it is that very essence of all beings. I am the self. Aham Atma Gudakesha Sarva Bhutashaya Sthita. So where can I find you? I am the essence in every being, man. Now is Arjuna able to relate to that caliber? Srinath Garu, you think Arjuna can understand that? No way. He cannot, he is not of that caliber to see the essence in all beings. The self is the essence. It is the, what is it? It is the very core. It is that common denominator in the multitude of beings. There's not only thing common between all living beings is the self. Otherwise, it has a different characteristics, different vasanas, different physiques, different personalities, different actions. Everything is different. But what's common thread is like a thread which with different beads and different gems, different stones, but the common thread that unites them all. So the self is the common seated in the heart of all beings. And then when he says, I am the beginning, middle and end, what do you understand by that? Ram Garu, I am the beginning, middle and end.
I suppose he's saying that people are, I mean, if we go back to the original thought that the world is created out of ignorance of self or ignorance of Brahman, then that the world is a perishable thing where you are born, you grow up, then you die. So that whole perishable aspect is because of me. That's what he's saying.
Stephen, take the mic.
And I am the past, the present, the future. So he is omniscient.
But the beginning, middle, and end. Huh? Birth, beginning, and end. Everything is like the ocean is the beginning of the waves. The waves exist in the waves. The waves exist in the ocean. The waves die in the ocean. So the ocean is the beginning of the wave. The ocean is the middle of the wave. Ocean is the end of the wave. So ocean is a substratum upon which the wave originates, sustains, and dies, isn't it? As you said, it's the originator, it sustains, supporter, and it ends. Where does it waves die back? Die back into the ocean itself. Like gold is the beginning, middle, and end of ornament. There is no question of ornament. You go to a goldsmith and say, I want ornament, I want an anklet. Very good, sir. Please make. Okay, I will make, sir. You go back to him after 1 week. Where is my anklet? What will you ask? Gold, where is your gold? How can there be an ornament beginning without gold, sir? We had discussion, yes, but I need gold to start. Where is the gold? Where is it? So the beginning. So there is no origin, there is no world without the self. So the world originates, the base of it is the Brahman, where it exists. Where is the world existing now? On Brahman. When the whole thing, the Prabhava and the Pralaya, when it happens, where has it come from? It has come from Brahman. Where is it existing? In Brahman. Where is it going to die back? In Brahman. I am that self of all beings, a beginning, middle, and end, Arjuna. Oh, Gudakesha, you have conquered everything else. Conquer your own ignorance, oh Gudakesha. Again, a pun in the word, the choice of word, Gudakesha. You have conquered everything. You are a great warrior, but conquer your own ignorance, oh stupid fellow. See, look at the choice of words. So when he says Gudakesha, he says, conquer your ignorance. Conquer your tamas, oh fellow. Gain this wisdom. Understand, I am that self. Where to find? I am everywhere, man. I am the beginning, middle, and end. Where to find means stupid question. See, how shallowness of the question is answered by, he's sarcastically answering it by saying, Hantaha in the previous verse. Let's continue. 21. Adityanamaham Vishnuhu Jyotisham Raviram Shuman Marichir Marutamasmi Nakshatranamaham Shashi Adityanamaham Vishnuhu Jyotisham Raviram Shuman Marichir Marutamasmi Nakshatranamaham Shashi. Among the 12 Adityas, I am Vishnu. Of luminaries, the radiant sun. I am Marichi of Maruts. Of Asrims, I am the moon. So he gets into the detail. So he picks out the best of everything. Some of them we may not have heard before. I know Reddy Garu is confused. What is all this? Who is this Maruts? Who is Adityas? You may say, I know my son is Aditya, but Adityas, I did not know. So it's a strange look on Reddy Garu's expression. Correct, sir? You silently communicate many things to me, sir. Art of living. Right. So I am the Vishnu of Adityas. The 12 sons of Aditi are the 12 phases of the sun, which is each month, every month, sun has got a phase. And the most beautiful and the most fascinating time is the April month, right after the winter, before the summer sets in. It is the most pleasant phase of the sun. Therefore, I am Vishnu Avadityas refers to that month, the time of spring after winter before summer. The sun is at its best. So of the 12 months, he's taking the best time to say, I am in that, I am that. The list, long list goes on, but it starts with that. I am the radiant sun of the luminaries. Sun is the most resplendent of all luminaries. You can take the moon, the stars, the unknown planets, whatever, of all of them, sun. Marichi of Maruts. Maruts are the, what are they? What are Maruts? Any idea? Gamma, any idea? Maruts, yaar? Harish, have you heard of Maruts before? So shall you today hear about it from the Lord. That's how we'll start some waves. So the Maruts are the wind gods, the 49 of them, the 49 wind gods. So Maruts, the wind gods, Marichi is a soft, tender breeze. The various types of winds, 49 of them, and each of them is a god. It's divinized. So of them, the most pleasant, I don't know, maybe it could be the evening breeze. The most pleasant breeze is called Marichi of Maruts. So I am the most pleasant wind, the most comforting wind. You know, what is the difference between, Raviji, what is the difference between Marichi and a hurricane? So the difference between Marichi and a hurricane is, or a tornado, what? It's just the momentum. It's the most unpleasant thing because it rips apart cities, destroys everything in its pathway. But he doesn't say, I'm the hurricane of the wind. Association of thought is negative. So look at the choice of words, choice of idea. He's only trying to associate with the best in everything so that you associate, we always associate spirituality or divinity with positivity. We don't associate divinity with negativity. Even though negativity and positivity has got nothing to do with divinity. God is everywhere. God is there in birth. God is there in death also. We divinize death also. What is abominable in death? There's nothing abominable in death. If death doesn't happen, there cannot be a birth. So as gracefully as you accept birth, as gracefully you should accept death also. Isn't it? Everything is Brahman. So he chooses the best to create a positive association of thought. Like when you put an incense stick, there's a certain association of thought, isn't it? When you bring in flowers, there's a certain association of thought. When you offer the flower at the feet of the Lord, there's a certain association of thought. When a lady puts the flower on her hair, there's a certain association of thought. The flower being the same, the association matters. So he is bringing the best in everything so that you associate with Brahman. When you, tomorrow evening when you're sitting, or this evening when you're sitting in your balcony with a cup of coffee and the pleasant breeze comes, what must you think of, Vasantama, this evening when you're sitting with your cup of coffee in your balcony with Setuji having a lovely conversation? You think, when did I have that? Suddenly she's thinking, going by memory lane, did I ever have that? But when you're sitting, what should you remember? Remember when the pleasant breeze hitting your face, when your garment is just flying, you realize it is Brahman, Marichi of the Maruts. So you remember association of thoughts. Then I am the moon of the Astarims, the 27 lunar mansions, the clusters of stars, and of the stars, I am the moon, the most gorgeous, the most beautiful. So he picks out the best star, the moon of the stars of the Astarims. Continue. 22. Vedanam sama vedosmi. Devanamasmi vasavaha. Indriyanamanaschasmi. Bhutanamasmi chetasaha. Vedanam sama vedosmi. Devanamasmi vasavaha. Indriyanamanaschasmi. Bhutanamasmi chetana. Venkatamji, please read the translation for us, sir. And also the explanation thereafter.
Of Vedas, I am Samaveda. Of gods, I am Vasava. Of senses, I am the mind. And of living beings, I am consciousness.
Right. Of the four Vedas, I am Samaveda. What are the four Vedas?
Samaveda, Yajurveda, Atharveda, and Rigveda.
The four Vedas. Of the four Vedas, he said, I am the Samaveda. Why did he choose Samaveda?
That you have to tell me.
Sorry?
No, that I would not know. You have to tell.
Yes, sir. Hear from the Lord. Yeah, because Sri Bhagavan Uvacha is saying, sir, Ramji, why are you looking at me like that, sir?
Yes, Lord, please.
Lord, huh?
Yes, Lord, please.
Yes, Lord, please. The Lord Rama is staring at me. So the Samaveda is a section of the Vedas, is one of the most beautiful songs. It's very musical. It's musical. Rhythm. Oh, por padungo. Can you sing one from the Samaveda, Periyama? Huh? Carnatic music came from Samaveda. No, from Samaveda, Carnatic music has come. Do you say that? Is it? Huh? Is it come from Samaveda, Carnatic music? Is the base. Then that calls for an occasion for a song, for a 2-minute song. Pass the mic to her and shift that camera onto her. Paruma. So Venkatji, we will explain Samaveda through musical. Okay, ji. Slogan na madam. Edad paadu.
Sir, slogan chalo. 2 lines. Time ஆயிடும். குறை ஒன்றுமில்லை மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணா, குறை ஒன்றும் இல்லை கண்ணா, குறை ஒன்றுமில்லை கோவிந்தா. கண்ணுக்கு தெரியாமல் நிற்கின்றாய் கண்ணா, கண்ணுக்கு தெரியாமல் என்றாலும் எனக்கு குறை ஒன்றுமில்லை மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணாம் வேண்டியதை தந்திட வெங்கடேசன் எழுதிருக்க வேண்டியது வேறில்லை மறைமூர்த்தி கண்ணா மணிவண்ணா மலையப்பா கோவிந்தா கோவிந்தா.
So sweet. So, Samaveda. Ama sir. Correct. Very difficult to repeat it. Huh? Don't try and repeat it. It'll be mockery. I know it inspires, but one of the most, I'm saying even literally to what she sang, even to the Samaveda, these are very difficult chants to even chant and repeat. Unless until you get a mastery over the Samaveda, it's very difficult to bring out that musical or a melody in that. So of the Vedas, he says, I am the Samaveda. Hariji, get me the list. Hariji, irukingla? Get me the list of all the Upanishads that come under Samaveda. For research pannungo, I know Kena Upanishad comes in Samaveda. What are the rest of the Upanishads that come under Samaveda? I want the list. Sariya?
I will get you.
Right, sir. Raviji, mic use. Yes, thanks, Hariji. But Kena
Yeah.
Upanishad Samaveda, dane?
I think.
Yeah, Kena Upanishad from Samaveda. Keneshitam patati preshitam manaha kena prana prathama praiti yuktaha keneshitam vachamimam vadanti na chakshushrotram ka udevo yunakti shrotrasya shrotram manaso mano yat vachoha vachagusa upranasya pranaha. Abdi mo चक्षुषश्चक्षुरथिमुच्य धीराः प्रेत्यास्माद् लोकामृता भवन्ति न तत्र चक्षुर्गच्छति न वा गच्छति नो मनो विद्मो न विजानीमो यथा एतदनुशिष्यात्. It is very different to other Upanishads. Now we are hearing in the Upanishad we are doing Mundaka. Now Mundaka Upanishad we will chant, you know the difference. Om Brahma Devana Prathama Sambhabhuva Vishwasya Karta Bhuvanasya Gopta. Here are the differences. Keneshitam Patati Preshitam Manaha Kena Prana Prathama Praiti Yuktaha. There's a different punchline. There's a different tune. You need to, I am not an authority on Vedic chanting, but when you listen to the Vedic Pandits who are proficient in chanting, it has a different edge. Because that is not my forte. My forte is to get to the bowels of literature. But there is little bit here and there I should have so that I can chant so that I'm able to draw you to it, but not only to the chant part. Yeah, Raviji?
No, I just wanted to say.
You want to sing?
Can you hear me?
You want to sing?
No, I just wanted to say,
I
wish
said I want to
wish
sing. I
could
said,
sing.
please give him 2 mics.
No, I just wanted to say that to the best of my knowledge, it's a Rigveda mantrams in Samaveda set to a tune, isn't it? I thought the mantras were common. It's Rigvedam and Samavedam. Textually, aren't they virtually the same?
I don't think so, sir. Not to my knowledge.
No, but
Hariji wants to say something, ma? There could be an overlap, as he says.
No, it is Samaveda that is chanted in a musical way.
But what Raviji is asking is there a parallel or is there a text?
No, Samaveda is it is chanted in its own way. There is no comparison.
But the text part, he's saying there is maybe parallel verses.
No, that could be, because in all Upanishad there will be overlapping of the ideas.
of who done Rigveda. Right. So the mic off panunga, sir. Off irka. Right. Thanks. So then moving on, he says, of the gods I am Vasava. The gods are always in plural. Plural gods refers to the devas. The devas refer to the various manifested phenomenal powers in the universe. Like you worship the wind god, you worship the fire god, you worship space, you worship earth, you worship disease, you worship birth, everything is worshipable, yeah. So these are all the gods, mean the phenomenal powers in the universe. So of the gods, I am Vasava. Who is the god of gods? Vasava is another name for Indra, the king of all gods. That's what he means. So of all gods, I'm Indra, the big boss. So when you think of any god, you must think of the boss. And then he says, I am the mind of the senses. Of the senses, I am the mind. Now this part, Venkatji, you can explain, no? It's easy, relatively. When he says, I am the mind of the senses, what do you understand, sir?
I am the mind of the senses means he is the one, the one who is in control of.
Why you say she?
No, he's probably.
No, we get the point. No, that point is got. We got the point, but
the one who is in control of his senses.
what controls the senses?
The mind.
Controls the senses. She controls senses.
See?
Correct. Truth came out. No, he only has to speak the truth only. So, parvale, sir. Sorry. మీరు చెప్పండి సార్ అంతా నవ్వుతున్నారు ఇక్కడ పర్లేదు మీరు చెప్పండి.
No, that's what it is. Guruji, the senses are controlled by mind and I am the one who controls the senses. That is what I could interpret.
See, the senses, which are the organs of perception and the organs of action, are driven by the mind.
Yes.
Isn't it? So, no perception is possible without the mind backing it.
Yes.
For example, as we're conversing, if your mind has gone off for a moment to some other thought, to that extent, your mind doesn't register what has transpired between us. Even though you've heard, but you don't register. Why don't you register? Because your mind is not
at that point of time, in the present.
backing the perception.
Okay.
So what backs the perception, the mother of all perceptions is the mind.
And he is the mind.
And father of the mind is the intellect.
Intellect, yeah.
So if the mind, since the mind is not in its place, it has to be kept by the intellect. But with reference to the senses, it is the mind. Therefore, it is a mind that controls the body. When your mind is disturbed, your physiological functions go astray. They go haywire. They are not your digestive system, your circulation system, your sleeping system, everything goes haywire when your mind is disturbed. So that's a sign that the mind controls the body. Yes, Ramji. You have a question for Venkatji, huh? Or for me, okay, right. Venkatji, please unmute. Venkat should answer this question now. Sir, your guru is asking your question, sir.
Yeah, all gurus, lords, a lot of people are there. Yeah.
All gurus and lords.
No, you are Lord, he's Guru. So, yeah, please.
My question is that if you see in this, in the next one, he's talking of consciousness. Mind is a very gross thing, it in the order of gross to subtle. And mind is not necessarily always well behaved, right? We all know it, that the senses can be misdirected by the mind. So why is he saying I'm the mind? Because then he's talking about a very gross thing. In the next one, he's saying I'm the conscious, which is a very subtle thing. So does he mean that I am the gross and I am the subtle, or is there some inner meaning in that? Because I felt that there is a mismatch in this. I mean, mind is a very
Tangible-
unstable,
tangible
and
aspect.
tangible thing, whereas consciousness is at a different level.
No, there is no order of presentation.
Say, for example, I am the intellect. Why did he say I am the mind? For example, because intellect is a subtler thing than the mind.
That neither Venkat nor me both can answer, because I didn't say that. So what sort of a question is this? Why did he not say that? No, you should ask him only. Why? I'm only repeating what he said. No, Reddy, what sort of a question is this? How can I answer this? Did I say this? I am not the author of this book.
My question.
You asked some question in my book I've written. Why did I have written? I'll tell you there.
My question is like Arjuna's question only.
So thank
So you
God
can-
you realized it.
You can remain silent.
It's a hierarchy. Yes, sir. Please. Yes.
No, I think everything he's saying here is relativistic. To that extent, as you said earlier, in the winds, he is the softest of the winds. So within a certain context, he is the highest of that context.
Correct.
So mind, he's treating it as one of the senses or the highest of senses. So among the senses, he is the mind.
Correct.
And among something else, he is the highest again.
Yeah.
Among the rishis, he is Kapila and so on.
Yes.
So I think within a certain context, he's the highest, but everything is relativistic.
Everything is absolutely right. I would say that ultimately, because he is only taking the best in every aspect of life, in every aspect of the experiences that we can relate to. So as he said, if you say, many people say mind as a sixth sense. So in that sense, the mind governs and controls rest of the senses. So he's taking the best out of everything and saying, of all senses, I'm sorry. In the book I've written, mind is and will always be our primary business in life. Your entire life, your mind is and will remain to be a primary business. And the most difficult thing to handle is the mind. And the moment you control the mind, automatically the senses are under control. We'll have to keep the online people in mind. Can you use the mic, please? Is it in green?
While there's no denying that the mind is the most difficult thing to control, but as you rightly said earlier, in the absence of the mind, whatever the senses perceive, it will not be perceived. If the mind is not there, then you will not feel the touch, you will not have sight, you will not know what you're hearing. So in that sense, it is the highest, because in the absence of the mind, nothing exists.
Pass the other mic to him. थोड़ा जुगलबंदी हो जाए जी. अरे क्या उसमें क्या? हाँ जी.
Where in the scriptures, even Ramana Maharshi talks about Mano Nasha. So where it means the mind, destruction of the mind. That's when
you attain
Really?
Jivamukta.
Yes.
So obviously, if Manonasha happened, the mind is not there, you still have the senses which are doing the job. So the brain is something else. That's
No,
not.
but I don't think she's talking of the brain. You're talking of
Yeah,
the mind.
So that's what I'm correcting,
Did she refer to the brain? Oh,
the mind. No, no. No, her point is that if the mind is not there, you can't feel what, you can't perceive what your senses.
so as I'm talking, I'm placing my hand on this cushion. I don't feel the sensory perception of how soft it is. Is it the felt cloth? What cloth it is? I don't feel that sense perception of touch because my attention is not on my palms.
Right.
But yet, the moment I talk of it, I feel, oh yeah, it is little hard here or a little soft or the cloth pattern. I know what it is. That's what she's saying. So you don't feel a perception. The perception is complete only when the mind backs it. If your mind is not there, the perception is incomplete. Is it what you're saying, Ma?
I think what Ravi is saying is that it is the brain, not the mind. And I think he's right. And I'm not making a difference between the brain and the mind. The brain is the grosser aspect, and the mind is the subtler aspect of the brain. So he's just focusing that it is the brain which perceives what the senses perceive. I mean, the brain knows the touch, the brain knows the taste, the brain knows what you hear, the brain knows what you see. But I'm just saying that mind, because the brain knows it, but the mind adds a certain element to whatever the senses perceive. It's just a subtler aspect of the brain.
No, I'm just going by the traditional wisdom that when there is no mind, a jnani has no mind. If you accept that.
Absolute level.
At the absolute level.
Absolutely.
And yet he does perceive things. So
No, that's a different thing. When we talk with reference to a man of realization, that's a different thing. Now, that doesn't mean he doesn't perceive or doesn't experience the perception. No, they go through that. There's nothing to do with that. But that's a different concept altogether. What we are saying is when he says, I am of the senses, I am the mind, he's only saying what governs, what controls. See, the thumb rule here is, it is a subtle that controls the gross. Please understand that. So if you want to control your senses, you need to get to the mind. Many people try to control the senses at the gross level. It's not possible to master control of the gross senses unless until you control the subtler aspect which governs it. And how do you control the mind? No, just we have seen it before, but the hierarchy of, if we put the lowest is sense objects, Pranav. Like there is sight for your eyes, taste for your tongue. You were talking of self-control, goal of self-control. We were talking earlier in the class. So sense objects. If I were to put something that you enjoy, you should have control, isn't it? So what is above the sense objects, Pranav? What's above the sense objects? The senses are contacting sense objects, am I right? So there are the senses. What's above the senses? What's above the mind? And what's above it? So there I am the self in everything fully actually. Yeah. That is in the hierarchy I'm saying. If see why I'm putting this as a hierarchy is the law in the context Reddy Garu is So in this ladder, this is the order of grossification. So the wisdom is the subtlest, and then this is the grossest. So you want to control you want to limit to your sense objects, quantum and quality. You want to control your senses. How do you control your senses? You may say you'll have to control the mind that backs it. How do you control the mind? It's only with the buddhi, the intellect. Now, how do you develop the intellect? With the wisdom. So without this, this can't happen. 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 The principle is the subtle controls the gross. Sorry.
Because in this context only, I was confused that why is he saying mind? Because mind is in the middle of it. It is not the. If he had said, I am the wisdom among people, or if he had said, I am the intellect
He
among
only
people.
said, he said about I'm the self and all. No? That is what-
Ah.
So as in that specific pocket, without
Because in all other things, he is choosing the best.
Even in the
Vedas, I
senses.
am the Samaveda, among this thing, I am this, I am that thing. But in
so
this,
mind,
he didn't choose
mind
the.
is not a negative force, sir.
Ah.
Mind is not, even though we look at a mind as a negative entity, but mind is not a negative force.
No, it has many positives, but that positive negative comes out of intellect. Control.
Yes.
That control comes out of intellect. Otherwise, I'm only, I mean, it is just an academic discussion that
Yeah.
why did he choose mind? And
Because
not,
the perception is only complete when the mind backs it. That's the reason, as we said before.
Is wisdom a quality or an input?
What do you mean a quality? What do you mean input?
Is it something you're deriving from somewhere? Or is it there?
No, wisdom is acquired. It's not something you're born with what you acquired in the past. That's what we say, wisdom doesn't perish with death. So the wisdom that you acquired in the previous birth is carried forward. But you have to acquire it. And we say, where is the wisdom? The wisdom is contained in the punishment and the answer. சாப்பாடு இல்லை இன்னைக்கு நீங்க என்ன கொண்டு வந்தீங்கோ அது கொடுத்துட்டு கிளம்புங்க நீங்க அது கொடுத்துட்டு கிளம்புங்க immediate punishment. You know what I said? The wrong answer he gave. Whatever his wife Amma gives lovely food, give the food what you got and you leave. Punishment, no food for you today, I told. Wrong answer. What was the question? Huh? Wisdom only we're talking, Pritima, from that time. Don't laugh, ma. These people are distracting me like this. What's the question? Oh, you also lost. We are in the same boat then. What's the question, sir? Where do you gather wisdom from? From the wisdom is contained in the knowledge. The knowledge, jnanam and vijnanam, we say. So the knowledge is wisdom is extracted from the knowledge. Just like let's say peanut. Every nut has oil in it. You have to go through a process of extracting the oil from the peanut or the groundnut or any nut. Or sesame seed, there's oil in that. You need to extract that oil, which is the essence of that seed. So the wisdom is the essence of that knowledge. So when you go through the process of swadhyaya, you extract that wisdom. So it is drawn out, it's imbibed, it's not inborn.
No, can I?
Please.
No, I asked because we also say, or our tradition also says, that Atma Jnanam is native to you. It's a Jnanam which has to be removed and the self will shine forth.
Correct.
So then where is the question of acquiring wisdom? the highest form of wisdom, which is self-knowledge or Atmagyanam, you are the self. It's avidya and ajnanam which is preventing you from realizing it. So in other words, all learning is supposed to be an unlearning, where you throw out the dross and the gross and the self shines forth. So in that sense, that's why I asked, is it something you are? It's your real self. And it's not something you can acquire. I'm just thinking.
It's like,
about-
I can relate to your observation. It's like the health is your natural state.
Yes,
All the medication and the treatment one goes through is to address the disease.
yes.
What you get back is your original health.
Correct.
So the knowledge and the wisdom that we acquire helps us to deal with the imperfections in the form avidya,
Correct.
in the form of vasanas and desires.
Right.
So when that is removed,
Wisdom
what
shines forth.
the wisdom shines forth.
That's the
Same thing. To combat ignorance, we need wisdom. We need the intellectual wisdom to combat it.
Can I just add one small thing? It's a question. If the mind is uncontrollable, do we use the intellect to control it? Absolutely. That's how it works.
The only way to control the mind is with an intellect. You need to use a subtler tool to control it.
And the intellect needs to be educated with wisdom.
In fact, the measurement of wisdom is the clarity of thought. With one way we have said that often, if you want to measure your level of wisdom, measure it by, can you control your mind? To the extent you control your mind, to that extent you have wisdom. That's all. Everything else is redundant. How wise am I is measured by to what extent is my mind under my control. So am I the master of my mind or am I a slave of my mind? So if that personal self-check, that quality control, if I keep to it, I would never go wrong. It's not how much you adore and respect and regard or put me at a pedestal. I know where I am, I know what I am, because that is the best judge of, you are the best judge of yourself. And how to evaluate your spiritual development is to what extent can you control your own mind. And it's as simple, and the reality can't be camouflaged because you know it and you can't fool yourself. Can you? I can fool you all rest of my life, but I cannot fool myself. And that speaks, you get a clear crystal picture as to where you stand. It's not how many books I write, how I mesmerize an audience, that all is paraphernalia, irrelevant. Oh, I speak, 10,000 people come. I say, so what? Is my mind, is your mind under control? If it is not, out, disqualified. So it's, what is that quality control? So the test of wisdom is to keep your mind in its place. And the mind has got many fangs. Many fangs. So to be able to address all the fangs of the mind and keep it in its control. Desires, attachments, impulses, emotions, attachments, greed, the various emotions it entertains, it goes into the past worries, it has future anxieties. All of them you must be able to control. And lastly, the other comment, whenever I think Hariji commented, in Vedantic language, whenever the Shastras use the mind, they mean a part to mean the whole. Means you can comfortably use the mind and intellect in one breath, can be interchanged or can be collectively used. That should, in a way, comfort you, sir. That's the style of the Shastras. But even if you don't take it that way, if you just say the mind, also we're not wrong, because mind directly controls the senses. Yes, Venkatramanji? Venkateshan, sir, sorry. sorry, can that, where the mics? Oh, yeah.
Intellect comes from the knowledge. It can be acquired. But wisdom is the one which we practice. Can we draw that conclusion?
Absolutely. I think in the, why I'm referring to the book is, this is the first question that's answered. The first question is, what is the difference between knowledge and wisdom? Or a chart போட்டுட்டு எல்லாமே compare பண்ணிருக்கோம். So wisdom is once you're able to live it, once it gets translated into action, it is wisdom.
Experience.
I can have hold of host of experience, but no wisdom.
Experience the knowledge.
Experience and knowledge.
Experience
That
the
means not just the experience by itself, but experience the knowing. Like I may say many things, but have I had a personal touch in my own life as to what it is saying? Then it's an experience, right? So that's wisdom. Other is bookish knowledge. So I need to know how much of my teachings is bookish and how much of it comes from a certain emotion backing it. Does it come with a certain experience? Do I relate to it, or is it just empty words? That element of it is wisdom. The rest of it is yet to be processed. In process, sir. Don't worry. In process. We are attending to it. It will become wisdom very soon. And the prayatnam must go on. Right? We'll come back. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.